was so good, record deal offers came in while she was still in elementary school. Eventually, she'd sign one at the tender age of 12. Things immediately took off with the release of her very first single, setting the tone for what she hoped would be a long and successful career. Then, it all abruptly stopped, and she would be taken on a wild roller coaster ride for many years, trying to find her way back. Joanna Noel Levesque, professionally known as simply JoJo, was born on December 20th, 1990 in Brattleboro, Vermont, but would be raised between Keene, New Hampshire and Foxborough, Massachusetts. It's no surprise that she began singing at 2 years old, since both of her parents dabbled in the art form themselves. By the time she turned 4, however, JoJo's parents would divorce, and she would then be raised solely by her mother. Over the next several years, JoJo would perform on various television shows and eventually catch the attention of record producer Vincent Herbert. He then set the wheels in motion for her to audition for Black Ground Records, once home to the late Aaliyah, and founded by her uncle, Barry Hankerson. In 2003, at age 12, JoJo signed with the label and its imprint, Da Family. Her debut single, Leave, Get Out, dropped the next year.
Get out, right now, it's the end of you and me.
When it reached number 1 on the US mainstream Top 40 chart, JoJo became, at age 13, the youngest solo artist ever to achieve that feat. Her self-titled debut album was released in 2004 and made it into the top 5 on the Billboard 200 album chart. Her second single, Baby It's You, featuring rapper Bow Wow, also did well, becoming a top 30 hit. Acting was another passion for JoJo, so she began getting her feet wet in it around this time, landing several movie roles. She came back to the music scene strong with the release of her second album, The High Road, in the fall of 2006. The lead single, Too Little Too Late, became a top 5 pop hit. After that, JoJo disappeared. And the reason why would have a chokehold on her career for the next decade. The man who'd signed her through a production deal to Black Ground, Vincent Herbert, left, devastating JoJo, who looked up to him as a brother. Then, after putting in a lot of work while gearing up to drop her next project, she'd turn in numerous songs to her label, only to get no response. Eventually, she wanted to just break her contract, but she'd signed a 7-album deal with the label, and they were not about to let her go. Years later, she would reveal that she blamed her appearance for the label's punishment. I ended up working with a nutritionist who had me on a 500-calorie diet a day. I was taking these injections that make you have no appetite. I was like, let me see how thin I could become, because maybe then they will put out an album. Maybe I'm so disgusting that nobody wants to see me in the video, and they can't even look at me. That's really what I thought. When that didn't ease her concerns, JoJo turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to cope. When she turned 18, she decided to take legal action. Her complaint cited a breach of contract, alleging the label failed to secure distribution for her album and forced her into a state of limbo. The lawsuit, though, was ultimately dropped after the label found distribution with Interscope. Unfortunately, they lost it again 3 years later. During the highly publicized legal battle, JoJo wasn't able to make money by releasing music, and not surprisingly, she didn't handle the experience well. I fell into a serious depression when I wasn't able to release music, when I realized that I didn't own my voice, and that I was basically told that I should give up on the dream that I started out when I was a little girl. She did her best to keep going and released her first mixtape, appropriately titled Can't Take That Away From Me, in 2010. Disaster, her first official single in 4 years, was released in the summer of 2011. It debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 at number 87, and then fell off the chart completely the next week. The song also failed to impact any chart internationally. She attempted to bounce back with another mixtape titled Agape at the end of 2012. In 2013, JoJo filed another lawsuit against Black Ground and Da Family with the New York State Supreme Court, citing failure on the part of the label to release her third album, and for allegedly neglecting to pay producers and vendors she worked with. She also invoked the New York law, which protects minors from being trapped in contracts that exceed 7 years, meaning her contract with Black Ground should have been up in 2011. She signed a new recording contract with Atlantic Records and over the next 2 years released 3 EPs. JoJo's third studio album, Mad Love, was finally released in 2016, 10 years after her second. Shortly after it dropped, she left Atlantic and teamed up with Warner Records to create her own label imprint, Clover Music. To change the narrative that'd been floating around for some time, JoJo went back into the studio to re-record her first 2 albums and released both of them in 2018. She told People magazine in 2020, "I released these new masters of my first 2 albums because I was tired of seeing people being like, 'Why did you take your albums down from Spotify?' They were never there. I would never do that. Why would I be a weirdo and want to erase my history? That makes no sense. I like money. I like people to be able to go back and have access to my songs whenever they want." Good to know, JoJo's 4th album dropped in May 2020, followed by her first holiday album, December Baby, later that year. By the end of 2020, JoJo found herself anxiously wondering whether or not she was worthy of her place in the music industry. Also around this time, she experienced the end of a long-time situationship with a friend turned lover. Not wanting to let the hardships keep her down, she then shifted her perspective and turned her feelings into her latest body of work, an EP released in 2021 titled Trying Not to Think About It. The 12-track project chronicles her complicated relationship with mental health. She recalls recognizing symptoms of depression and anxiety among some of her close family members growing up, but she didn't realize how directly it affected her until adulthood. Ultimately, her battle led her to harmful coping mechanisms, including binge drinking, overeating, and falling into toxic relationship patterns of feeling guilt and shame. But over time, JoJo's learned healthier ways of dealing with her mental health struggles. Her process of healing included saying yes to fruitful opportunities in 2021, no matter how intimidating they may seem. The mission led her to go on season 5 of The Masked Singer, where she finished in 2nd place as Black Swan. JoJo celebrated another happy moment over the Christmas holidays that year when she announced her engagement to Saved by the Bell reboot actor Dexter Darden. Sadly, just under 1 year later, it would be reported that the couple had split. It was confirmed as much when they unfollowed each other on Instagram, and JoJo removed photos of them together off her page, including the engagement announcement. She achieved another major career accomplishment in April of this year, when she made her Broadway debut as Satine in Moulin Rouge the musical. She told People magazine, "I really wanted to step up to a challenge, and that's what I think Broadway is. It's the best of the best." The role naturally required JoJo to leave LA and make a temporary home in New York City for several months. The new environment will no doubt provide great fodder for an upcoming memoir she's currently writing, which will be jam-packed with stories about childhood stardom, of course, all the drama she endured with her former record label, and how she made it to the other side, better and stronger than ever.